Kayleigh McEnany, press secretary to the White House, holds another fun-filled press conference. That was awesome. We also had Bill Barr, who was on Face the Nation, and I got a little deeper into what went on there, and there was also a bunch of stuff that went on inside of that that was really good. You're not going to want to miss that. And then toward the end of the video, we will touch a little bit on the law enforcement roundtable that the President of the United States held today. There's some few things I took away from that. Not a ton there, but you're definitely going to want to stick in. So hang into the end, guys. I'm Jared. This is RedRacer Video, former car guy, now late breaking news, world news, political news guy. I've got kids. I want to leave the world a better place, and I am now using my voice to open people's eyes to the Great Awakening. Really quick, I'll get the YouTube stuff out of the way. If you don't think this video sucks, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel so you can come back. When you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell and click all next to subscribe. That way you guys will get notified when I have new videos, if I go live or anything like that. Periodically check back. I have heard stories from many that you will get unsubscribed magically. Don't know why, but keep checking back. And then really quickly, today's sponsor, guys, as it has been in the last few videos, today's sponsor is you guys. Your donations, your pledges through Patreon, your donations through PayPal and Venmo quite literally carry this channel at this point. So if you guys find value in this after you watch this video, I am an independent citizen journalist now, and I quite literally live off of YouTube ads, which are very sporadic because they demonetize my channel all the time, and your small monthly pledges on Patreon and your PayPal and Venmo donations. So thank you so much to everybody who has already done that. You are making this possible for me and for you. Down below in the description, there are links if you guys see value in this and want to help me with this. And to everybody, again, that already has, thank you. I'm done. Let's roll. This is what I'm going to start by saying, okay? Really quick, before I say anything in today's video, I want to preface it with the people that are saying that we need to defund the police, dismantle the police, whatever they use, whatever word they use. They're the same people that wanted to open borders and defund ICE. Just remember that. They want to open the borders, let people pour in, check no one, get rid of our police, make it so the National Guard can't come in. It should be obvious, but I'm just, again, prefacing today's video with that. So here we go. I want you to ask yourselves why they would do that, okay? Before we move on, why would they do that? Decide that for yourself. Rhetorical question. They also, at the same time, guys, are taking away our right. They're wanting to take away our right to defend ourselves. Not our president, but the people who oppose him want to take away our weapons in the midst of opening the borders, taking away all the police, okay? First thing we're going to touch on, though, Kayleigh's presser. This is the first thing we'll officially dive into anyway, because I feel like we kind of already did some touching. But so this is how it went, okay? I'm just basically going to paraphrase what some of the reporters said. It was humiliating like always. Their questions are blatantly, obviously just trying to spin news, create whatever narrative they want to create for the headline of their paper. There's no actual interest to get to the bottom of anything. And their questions in most cases are not even questions. They're saying something and then maybe providing her an opportunity to respond. So usually she'll go off the cuff and say something else, and she's got notes prepared all the time. She's magic. But here we go. One of the things that I think a lot of people on here will get a kick out of, I do because I'm a football guy. I'm very quickly becoming not a football guy. If a bunch of football players are going to apologize for standing their ground on stuff, and if I'm real close to leaving all sports, I'll just leave it at that. I'm real close to just all entertainment and sports. You've lost me. You know, with what they're defending, what they're doing, I'm really struggling. But again, the reporter says, does the president think that the NFL should still fire any players that kneel during the anthem? Why that came up today, why that's important, why with all that's going on, with COVID-19 still being such a huge problem, and with the riots and the looters, or I'm sorry, the peaceful protesters, they keep calling them, with the peaceful protests that are going on and the false flag flu and everything else that's happening, how is that even an important question today? Let me tell you guys how that was an important question today. Now that you guys know this is the divide and conquer strategy, they've got to divide us. They've got to make us hate each other right now. This is just another thing for them to go, okay, now let's pick all the football people. Let's split them up. And then they already know that, they've been working on the NBA people for a while because the NBA loves China and they sold out. And there's a bunch of people who are smart enough to figure that out and they don't like the NBA anymore. Watch what's going to happen to the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, all these guys. They're going to find out that all the conservatives, if we lose favor and don't want to spend money on that product anymore, it's going to hurt a lot. It's going to hurt a lot. But they know that. And they know that there's division in there and that's what they're trying to do. Why'd they ask a question about the NFL and kneeling? Because this is all about kneeling. What's the other point to take away from that? Kneeling. It's all about the kneeling issue. Guys, MK Ultra, mind control. They're planting the kneeling seed. They're trying to make people kneel. They're trying to make people lay on the ground to show their solidarity with black culture or whatever. No, this question was about separate people, separate NFL fans, and bring up kneeling again. Kneel, 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 kneel. They're just making you think about kneeling. Moving on. The reporter asked when the fencing around the Lafayette Square was coming down. For those who don't know Lafayette Square, over the weekend, Lafayette Square was one of the places that was the big, it was terrible. The rioting was terrible, absolutely terrible. A lot of officers hurt, people hurt. The officers had to fight back. We'll get into what happened, but it was a very violent weekend. Many have called. Watch yesterday's video. At the end of this, on the bottom left of your screen, yesterday's video will be there. Watch it. But they called, I think Sunday was the day that they called the most violent day in 30 years in D.C., the Lafayette Square area. And I don't know if it's in D.C. or right around it. Sorry, I'm not going to lie. I'm not a geography expert. But why would she ask that? Why is she asking when the fence is going to come down? Why does she care? Why does the media care about when that fencing would come down? Why are they posing that question in that way? Remember, whenever they ask these questions, guys, think. They're always pushing. They're always spinning something. There's always something behind it. They don't actually care. And if they do care, why are they trying to find out when that fence is coming down? Are they maybe trying to get intel? Are they trying to find out maybe when they could tell their boys from Antifa and Black Lives Matter to go back and try and burn the place down again? Just some thoughts. Again, these are just my thoughts, guys. I'm not reporting any fact here. Some is fact. A lot of this is my opinion. That was my opinion, okay? Weird question. Weird question. Are they trying to stage more riots there? Are that what they're trying to tell us is happening? So, Kayleigh McEnany's question is, I don't know. I don't know. She didn't give me anything there, I think, if I remember right. Then the reporter asks if the president or the administration has any regrets about the way things were handled in Lafayette Square. And I might bounce back and forth a little bit between her press conference and what Barr said on Meet the Press or Face the Nation, whichever one it was, the hack reporter, the terrible, awful show on CBS that I admire him for even going on. But they asked him, they asked her if the administration had any regrets about the way they handled it. She went on to explain very, very well the timeline of how things played out. She also explained that prior to there being any altercation with police in the area and the peaceful protesters, the people literally had hours leading up to that to move. They knew they needed to move. The night before, the city was already talking about and saying they were going to move that perimeter. Then Barr came in the next morning and said, yes, let's do it. The police and everybody knew. They were announcing over a loudspeaker 3 different times, you have to move. Then they finally started moving. People were pulling down police shields, attacking police. They took officers' weapons. Media's not telling you any of this, so I know this is probably news to a lot of you. They were not peaceful protesters, and they keep asking these questions, and when they ask the question, they make sure to call them peaceful protesters. Do you regret the way that the administration reacted to the peaceful protesters? Let me tell you what they should have asked. Do they regret what happened when the peaceful protesters got put in the middle of a situation where Antifa and Black Lives Matter and whoever else is involved, terrorists, were throwing things over them and attacking police and trying to make it a riot and trying to make it a looting situation instead of letting it be a peaceful protest? And Kayleigh McEnany did a masterful job of answering that question in a lot of the same way I just did. She did also say that they were Black Lives Matter and Antifa agonists. And yes, they are. And if you don't think they are, I'm sorry, but you are very misled and you need news sources. You are being foolish. She also then notes that people were violent, and she again reiterated that they had taken officers' shields down and tried to take their batons and weapons from them. Then they went on to try and make President Trump speak out against Mitt Romney, which you don't really need to give him a reason to. Mitt's a scumbag. Everybody in Utah thinks Mitt's a scumbag. Not everybody, but the majority of us are like, man, our bad. Like, yeah, that's our boy. We need to come get him. I know. But she posed the question again, always spinning, right? Always spinning. So how did they spin this question? Does the president want to speak out against Mitt Romney? And I'm not quoting, but this is about what they said. Does the president want to speak out against Mitt Romney for posting a Black Lives Matter picture? So they're already in their question pitting the president against Mitt Romney for doing Black Lives Matter. They're already trying to make our president a racist with their line of questioning. And they're pitting him against Romney, which they know he may take the bait for because Romney's a douche. And then they ask the question in a way that if he takes the bait, he's a racist. I know you guys see what's happening. I'm saying this, but I'm sure a lot of you are like, yep, I saw that too. Yep, I saw that too. Link in the description, guys, to all my sources. X22 Report, Dan Bongino, QMap.pub, a bunch of the documentaries I watch, and I'm also going to link today's, the things that I'm referring to. The Barr interview on Face the Nation, I think it was, and Meet the Press, I don't care which one it was. Hack CBS, terrible show. And then I'll also link the Roundtable, because go watch these things. But again, it requires a lot of time, and that goes back to why maybe it's worth paying me a few bucks a month or whatever to consolidate all of the 9 hours of massive amounts of information that happen every day into 20 minutes of video for you guys. One more time, shameless promotion. Link in the description if you guys want to support the channel, if you see value, if you want to help this go forward. My personal thoughts is that Mitt is crooked. And Mitt is fighting for his life. We know he's a rhino Republican. And I always say, do your own research. Go look at why Mitt is scared. He is, this might be a terrible way of putting it, but I'm going to say it anyway. He's balls deep in some bad stuff as it relates to Ukraine and some people in his family. And he's one of the bad guys. Like, he's one of the people on the take. He's one of the people taking money. That's where I'm at. Do your own research. But that's where I'm at. Kayleigh, after that question, I loved this part. Kayleigh, after that question, went on and rattled off a list of things that President Trump has done for the black community since going into office. And to anybody on this channel that can say that he is a racist, you are seriously, again, being very foolish and showing how misled you are, or maybe how uneducated or how unread you are in the situation. Because this president has literally done more for the black community than any president since Abraham Lincoln. Many, many, many leaders in the black community say this. 90% of the media is going to lie to you and say that that's not the case, but they are the ones fighting for their lives because they're co-conspirators to treason and trying to overthrow a government. The president has done more for the black community, for all of us, for me, for everybody, than any president in a really long time. And anybody saying otherwise, again, is just showing how misled they are and how foolish they are acting. You guys like how I spun that there? No name calling? I'm proud of myself. Okay. So, Mitt's words were empty. That's how she ended that. I'm going to end it by saying that. She said Mitt's words were empty. His 3 words, his Black Lives Matter post, that's as far as Mitt has ever gone to do anything for black people, ever. Prove me wrong in the comments, please. Then reporters tried to ask, follow with me, guys. This is good stuff coming. Then reporters asked why the president hasn't addressed the nation, like why he hasn't made its own separate thing about all of this, about the George Floyd, about everything. Kayleigh, again, masterfully goes on to crush her and talk about how the president was one of the first people to speak out. And then she goes on and quotes everything that he said on live TV during I think it was if I remember right, it was a roundtable with all the business leaders of America. But he spent the first like 5 or 7 minutes of that meeting devoting to George Floyd. He was one of the first to do it. But again, the way the media asks the question, it makes it sound like the president's ignoring it. Far from it. He's all over it. He's done a lot about it. And he held the news press, and he held a roundtable about law enforcement today. Ridiculous. Pathetic. Our media is pathetic. They go on to ask her about stimulus and defunding the police. And that's going to kind of transition us into the next part of the video anyway. But she basically says, as far as stimulus goes, we want to note that this will not be a bailout of blue states who are broke because of decades of Democratic policies. And I, for one, as an American, please, you guys in the comments, tell me what you think. I don't want to bail out those blue states either. We're not bailing them out because the false flag flu tore their community apart and that's why they ran out of money. That is not what happened. They were broke. They're trying to use the false flag flu to get money out of the situation. Again, do your own research. But they are trying to now use America's desperation and you and my desperation. I haven't worked for 2.5 months over this deal. They know that. They're trying to use us to force the government to do a bunch of stuff for them. And I am willing to stay broke. Do not bail out blue states. I'll figure it out. Okay? That's where I'm at. But she masterfully answered that. Then they brought up defunding police. And she kind of answered the question and said, this is a power move for you guys to get money from the government, the blue states. She was amazing. Okay. Moving on. Don't go anywhere, guys. This gets really good right here. And if you haven't left yet, good on you, because this is where I feel like it's going to get fun. So Barr on Face the Nation. Yesterday, I brought you guys a little bit of it. Again, yesterday's video will be in the bottom left corner at the end of this video, but I talked a little bit about some of the stuff Barr said on Face the Nation. Today, I got time to watch more of that. And boy, oh boy, did he say some amazingly powerful and embarrassing to the reporter things on Face the Nation. So on Face the Nation, he stated, violent rioters dominated Lafayette Park. He didn't mince words. Violent rioters dominated Lafayette Park. He also said that they were injuring police. He made that also very clear. So there's no mistaking what happened at Lafayette Park. The media is showing you guys all these peaceful protesters. Far from it. Were there peaceful protesters there? Of course. Of course. But guess what else was there? Black Lives Matter, Antifa, antagonizing things, making things something they were not. She goes on to ask numerous questions, phrasing it that they are peaceful protesters. Barr goes off and says that 750 officers were hurt in the last week. A fifth of those officers were in the Washington, D.C. area at the Lafayette Square event, tragedy, whatever you want to call it. Most of those were federal officers at Lafayette Park, and the officers on Sunday were pummeled with crowbars, pavers. They were using the crowbars to pull up pavers and throw the pavers at the officers. They were throwing bricks and hurling them at police. That's what Barr said. He did again. Didn't mince words. He was very clear. Barr was there. Mind you, Barr was there. This gets better. Don't lose me. This gets better. Barr was there himself. Saw it himself. Okay. There were fires set to the St. John's Church and another historic building in Lafayette Square. Peaceful protesters, mind you. Peaceful protesters setting fires, throwing bricks, using crowbars, pulling up pavers, hurling them at police, injuring 1/5 of 750 officers that were hurt over the weekend. Very peaceful. Those peaceful people injured 750 officers over the weekend. Peaceful protesters did that, right? No, those are rioters and looters. But I digress. Let's move on. She kept cutting him off. Every time he would call them rioters or call them violent, or when he talked about them starting the fires, she'd cut him off and say, you mean the looters? The looters you're talking about. She would not let him call them violent or rioters. She would say, you mean the looters did that? Trying to make it sound like the people that are just there to peacefully protest just get so frustrated that they can't hold back anymore and they turn into looters. And then looters are doing this stuff, making you guys not feel bad for them and not feel bad about the fact that our pathetic Hollywood losers and other people are bailing these people out of jail. They're not peaceful protesters, and they're not even looters who are also losers. They are violent rioters. Stick with me. Again, stick with me. This gets better. She said, "You mean the looters and not the rioters?" And he tells her, "No, they are violent rioters and they dominated Lafayette Park." So he stopped her after she stopped him. He corrected her and said, "No, I was very clear about what I said. They're violent rioters. They dominated Lafayette Park." Okay? Here we go. She cuts him off again from saying it after he cut her off from cutting him off. This is, again, in the description. It's in there. This was beautiful. Pathetic and beautiful. Because people are seeing this, guys. Keeping in mind, everybody's like, man, they keep getting away with it, though. No, we're watching this. You guys are watching this. Some of you already went and clicked on the links yourselves. We're seeing this happen real time. We can't tell everybody. We've got to show everybody. So, he then went on to break it down for her very clearly. He said the night before, their police wanted to move the perimeter. It was their recommendation that we move that perimeter. They could tell what was going on. They knew we needed to move that one part of the perimeter, not the whole perimeter. A perimeter goes all the way around, guys. One part of the perimeter needed to be moved 1 block. He came in the next morning, looked at what happened and said, "Yep, I think you're right. Let's do that." They then started making announcements. Police knew. Everybody knew. Then there was 3 announcements over the loudspeaker. Like, there was hours of preparation to move this one part of the perimeter. And he pointed all of this out to her very clearly. He then went on to remind her that the peaceful protesters were actually moving, and that was when Antifa and Black Lives Matter antagonists were hurling rocks over the people and creating the problem, trying to create the image that peaceful protesters and police were in a confrontation. That is not what happened. And if you're buying it, again, you are being very foolish and you are showing how misled you are. That's not what happened. They put them in the middle. The peaceful protesters are the victims in this. They need to stop showing up for this stuff because BLM and Antifa keep taking them over. That's all I'm going to say about that. We're going to pass on a little bit here. We're almost done, guys. This is a long video for me, I know, but I hope you guys thought this one was good because I feel like this video was good. I've been fired up about this video today. I really have. I almost made this video and then I stopped and went and added this last part in. So I hope you guys think these last few minutes are good. Let me know in the comments. Last thing I wanted to add, because I saw it pop up right before I was going to record, was the law enforcement roundtable today. There's not a lot of stuff to take from it. It's I think a lot of it is just, I think it's a dog and pony show just to satisfy the left so they can't say he hasn't done this to address police brutality. You guys don't follow me on IG and Parler, P-A-R-L-E-R. Get rid of Facebook and Twitter and go join Parler, P-A-R-L-E-R. Follow me at RedRacer Video on Parler and on IG. My thoughts on this have been pretty obvious, but the numbers don't support any of what's happening, any of this violence. Something that was brought up today during the roundtable, during all of this terrible stuff that's happened in the last 3 months, they expected our jobs report to come out and be terrible. A lot of you guys say, how are you so positive? You stay so positive. Thanks for being so positive. All you got to do is look, and there's a lot of positive to be taken from all of this. We're seeing all these people be exposed. That's positive. Yeah, it's hard to see, but it's positive. Look for the silver lining. 2.5 million jobs got added in the last 3 months, during the last quarter or whatever, the jobs report. So during all of this terrible stuff, the president was smart enough to use his powers and create jobs throughout all of this, to create ventilators and all this stuff and masks and moving supply chains and just everything that happened. We added 2.5 million jobs during the false flag flu. So yeah, unemployment's high because a bunch of businesses have people sitting at home. But again, it's all in how they manipulate the numbers. We added 2.5 million jobs. Nobody expected that. That is like a miracle. News isn't even going to tell you that. That's a huge win. Barr's statements that went around the table, Barr did have statements. They were very consistent with what I've already told you. I'm not going to hit on that again. President Trump's statements were also kind of brief. And he was, I'm going to use the word again. I know I've overused it in this video, but I feel like he was masterful in what he said. He said, we won't be defunding, dismantling, disbanding, ending our police forces. Not happening. We're not going to let that happen. So guys, don't fear. That was his way of saying the media's trying to scare you guys into thinking police are going away and the world's going to end. No, it's not. Relax. That's what I took from that. I'm paraphrasing. That's what I heard. Don't worry about it. He did say there may be cities that try. I'm quoting him. There may be cities that try. Not going to let it happen. So don't worry. Stop with the fear. Stop with the there's not going to be police. Yeah, there's some police upset, and they're using this as an opportunity to not show up for their job and make people realize that they should be valued. And I don't blame them. But it's not going to be what everybody says. Stop living on fear. There is big, good stuff ahead. I'm happy. I feel good. You guys should too. Stick in there. Thank you again to everybody who's supporting me. You guys bring this video to yourselves every single day. My 30 for 30 is rolling. I've made a video. I don't even know how many days in a row now. I've lost track. I love you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Come back for the next RedRacer video. Thank you guys.